Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Spirit of Liberty. Appreciate you joining me live again. I hope this will be a help and a blessing to you today. I'm going to jump right into today's subject. We're going to talk about our appearance and what it says. Now, this particular subject, believe it or not, I am going to do everything I can possibly do to not say things that are offensive and controversial. That is not my goal with what I'm about to do. But some of the things I'm going to say in this program is probably going to trigger some people, even though I have no desire to trigger anybody. Sometimes I'm in the mood and I feel like triggering people. Sometimes I don't feel like doing that today, but there's just some truths here that I don't think a lot of people are prepared to hear. But you know what? I'm coming to you as a friend, and I am going to try to be a help and a blessing. And I'm going to basically talk, I'm going to talk to you the way I would my own sons. When it comes to my boys, I'm actually probably a lot more harsh and brutal with them than I am with anybody else, because I care the most about them. So a lot of these things I'm going to tell you are things that, it's just kind of how we live our life. And hopefully it will not be offensive. But your appearance, what is your appearance telling people? Now, I'm going to go ahead and go right to some scriptures, just because of the fact I know people are probably going to be screaming these as they hear some of the things I'm going to say. And I know these verses, but I also understand too, people are using these verses to distract from the conversation and what we really need to talk about. It's like there's just some things people want to deny are reality. But let's go ahead and go to a few scriptures. So first off, in John 7:24, Jesus is speaking. He says, "Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment." And that's a great passage right there. And we should not just go prejudging people. You shouldn't just write somebody off because of the way they're dressed and just assume a bunch of things about them. That is not right. That is not righteous judgment, to just see someone dressed a certain way and then assume a bunch of things about them. That's not fair. That is unbiblical. That is not righteous judgment. But guess what? People are going to do it to you. I've had it happen to me before. I'm someone who typically I dress presentable, decent. I go out, I'm clean cut, clean shaven, combed hair, and I typically, get treated decent, respectable. I go to hospitals a lot to visit people, and and when I'm in the hospital too, there's people there. They'll know me, or they'll know that I'm a pastor, and so I get extra access as a result of that. And so typically I'm treated good around those places. But there was some years back, I was still working at the Walmart distribution center. I was in bed. I went to bed really early then, because I'd get up at 2:30 in the morning. So it was probably like 8 o'clock. I was already in bed. I'm wearing a crummy pair of warm-ups that had a rip in them. I had a junky t-shirt on. I'd been in bed, so my hair is a mess. I was not clean shaven. I was scruffy at that point. And then, my wife comes and informs me that Allie has stepped on some glass, cut her foot real bad, and she's probably gonna need stitches. So I had to drive her to the hospital, looking like a hobo. Well, I'm telling you, we went into that emergency room, and I went separate. My wife, she still looked nice and presentable, but then I dropped them off. I went and parked the car, and then I had to come in. I'm telling you, I was being treated terrible that day in the hospital. Everybody's acting suspicious with me. I'm just trying to find out where they took, Cassandra and Allie. I'm trying to go back there, and everyone's acting weird with me. Everyone's giving me grief, and just being suspicious. And I'm like, what is wrong with these people today? That was my attitude. I'm like, what is wrong with these people today? Normally, and I'm the people in the emergency room. I hadn't been back there. Nobody there knows me, but I'm just like, people at this hospital are usually a lot more friendly. And then I went to the bathroom, and I just kind of looked at myself, and I'm like, I look like a hobo right now. And I realized I was a victim of discrimination. I was being judged by my appearance. People thought I was just some low-life, white trash individual. I'm a pastor of an independent fundamental Baptist church. I'm a decent citizen. I'm saved. I'm a soul winner. I'm all these wonderful things, but I looked like a hobo. And so I got treated like one. Now, I had a very good reason to look like a hobo. Okay? You know what? I don't think you got to get all dressed up fancy and comb your hair before you go to bed. But I didn't know that was going to happen. And, the thing is, the moral of the story is people are going to judge you based on your appearance. And, that's just a fact. It's not right. It's not righteous judgment, but it is going to happen. And if you don't like being treated like a hobo, it'll probably help if you don't look like a hobo. But they're going to judge. 1 Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not in his countenance, nor on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. And I want you to notice a couple things there, because people are like, God looks at the heart. God looks at the heart. I know, but right now, I want to talk to you about how you can be treated decent out there in the world. I want to teach you how you can have better opportunities out there in the world. And the thing is, because you don't have to look like a hobo. That's a choice that you're making. You don't have to look like a slob. And the thing is, there are things that you can choose to do with your appearance. They're going to cause people to have a negative judgment towards you, because man can't see your heart. They can't see all those works that you did last week. They can only judge you by their appearance. That's the only thing they're capable of doing. And I get it that it's not righteous, but it's what they're going to do. And I don't want to miss opportunities. I don't want my boys to miss opportunities, or my daughters to miss opportunities, because they were just maybe being lazy that day and chose not to do anything with themselves. But notice too what God said, how he said, look not on his countenance. Okay? People judge you by your countenance. If you look miserable, if you look scary, if you look like you're in a bad mood, they're going to think certain things about you. And you might be in a bad mood. You might have a really good reason to be in a bad mood, but they don't know what that is. And again, this is why we got to be careful as Christians on how we judge people. That person walks in the church and they look scary, or they look miserable or something. Well, maybe they are miserable. Maybe they're there looking for answers because they're going through a hard time. We don't know what's going on in people's life. So we don't want to just go, negatively judging people all the time, but it is a natural thing to do. It's a normal thing to do. And it's all man's really capable of doing. And they're going to do it. He mentions the height of his stature. And we're going to read some articles too to show that there's things about appearance that people judge, and there are things that we can't help too. You can't help your height. But did you know people typically judge taller people more positively than shorter people? Now, that's not right. That's not righteous judgment. But it's exactly what people do. And God pointed that out. How is height going to make you a better king? Well, it makes you look more mighty and strong. It makes you look like make you look more intimidating. If you were going to have a king fighting battles with you, you don't want a little guy. You want a big guy there. So people like that kind of thing for a king. James 2 says, my brethren, have not the faith of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory, with respect of persons. For if there come into your assembly a man with a gold ring, and in goodly apparel, and there cometh also a poor man in vile raiment, and ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing, and say to him, sit thou here in a good place, and say to the poor, stand thou there, or sit here under my footstool. Are ye not then partial in yourselves, and become judges of evil thoughts? Now, what James just described here is wrong to do. Anybody that comes into our assembly, we ought to treat him equal. But notice how the guy in the gold ring and the nice apparel is perceived as rich. Oh, that's judging. I know. When you see somebody that they have the nice raiment, you think those things. A rich person can put on vile raiment, but they don't typically do that. But yet, James is kind of given some examples. But those types of clothing, they don't prove anything. But that's another reason too why we shouldn't judge. based on those things. We shouldn't have respect to the one that wears the gay clothing, and that just means something that's that's bright, or something that is expensive or whatever. It's not talking about skinny jeans and things like that. When it's gay is used in a different way back then. But having said all this, okay, all these things we see about these passages, that just like it's wrong to judge according to the appearance, man is going to judge you based on your appearance. What you wear, how you present yourself, sends a message to people. How you do your hair or sends a message to people. Your facial hair sends a message to people. And you know what? Those messages might not always be exactly correct, but it tells people something just the same. And so I'm going to read a few articles to you that I found online that are just kind of interesting. And this kind of stuff triggers people so bad because people just hate the thought of being misjudged. But here's the thing about this, okay? The reason the Bible tells us not to do it is because these things are not going to be 100%. And we don't, we need to be 100% in our judgment the best we can. So we can't just go off of these things that are not completely accurate. It's wrong for us to do that. But at the same time, most of the world is going to do this. You need to understand that. And a lot of times, your appearance and the judgment people have of you is correct. It is accurate. Okay? Some of you, the reason you dress the way you do is because you are, in fact, a slob and lazy, and you just don't care. And that tells, and you're sending a message that you really don't give a rip, that you're not a serious person. That's the message you're sending, and it's accurate. Okay? It might not always be accurate. I'm a serious person. Okay? I do give a rip. But there's sometimes I go out looking like a slob. I'm planning on mowing grass later today. Before I go mow grass, I'm going to change my clothes, and I'm going to get dirty. But even then, you can still make an effort. You can still wash your face. There's still some things you can do. I'm not, and you can tell too, the people who are dirty because they've been working versus the person who just didn't do anything. You can spot them. You got these people that they look like they smell. They might not smell, but they look like it. And, we're just naturally going to try to keep our distance from those people who look like they smell. So that's not right. I know, but it's natural. It's human nature. So let's go ahead. I'm going to try to use screen share here, and let's look at some of these articles. This one is in Forbes. It says, like it or not, you are being judged by how you look, how you dress, and how you carry yourself. And if you're lucky, how you do your job. And so he said, I had lunch yesterday with an old friend. I've known him for over 30 years. In fact, he introduced me to my wife. Unfortunately, we don't see each other very often, and he hadn't sat down across the table from each other for several years. Let me preface what I'm about to say. I'm comfortable with my jeans and sneakers. Dave is a corporate attorney. He entered the restaurant immaculately dressed, although he wasn't wearing a tie. I was dressed as I usually am. I did wear what I thought was a nice button-up shirt. It was even tucked in. Dave hasn't changed much since we knew each other in our early 20s. While I'm decidedly more rotund, sporting gray hair and a nearly white beard, he could pass for 10 years younger than me, although he's actually a couple years my senior. It must be all the time he wastes at the gym. As we left the restaurant together, I made an offhanded comment about how I appreciated that he got all dressed up to have lunch with me. He didn't miss a beat. I guess I just take our friendship more seriously than you do. Like it or not, every day we are judged by such things. Earlier this month, I read something published by Aaron Govea that lists 7 ways your look affects your pay. Falling short in more than one of these categories, I hope all is not lost for the frumpy 50-something gray hairs who wear jeans and red sneakers to lunch meetings with old friends. So he goes on here to talk about some facts and some statistics. And these things are not necessarily right, but it's just reality, and it's important that we recognize these things because some things we can't help, some things we can help. So first off, tall people get paid more money. Now, that's not right. But it says a 2004 study by Timothy Judge at the University of Florida found that for every inch of height, a taller worker can expect to earn an extra $789 per year. That means two equally skilled coworkers would have a pay differential of nearly $5,000 per year simply because of a 6-inch height differential, according to the study. It says here, fat people get paid less. Obese workers, those who have a body mass index of more than 30, are paid less than normal weight coworkers at a rate of $8,666 a year for obese women and $4,772 a year for obese men, according to a George Washington University study that cited data from the National Longitudinal Survey of Youth in 2004, and other studies indicate obese women are even more likely to be discriminated against when it comes to pay, hiring, and raises. These things are not right, and we'll talk about why this is here in a little bit. Here it says blondes get paid more. A 2010 study from the Queensland University of Technology studied 13,000 Caucasian women and found blondes earn greater than 7% more than female employees with any other hair color. The study said the pay bump is equivalent to the boost an employee would generally see from one entire year of additional education. It says, fourth thing, workers who work out get paid more. According to a study in the Journal of Labor Research, workers who exercise regularly can earn 9% more on average than employees who don't work out. The study from a Cleveland State University claims people who exercise 3 or more times a week earn an average of $80 a week more than their slothful coworkers. It says women who wear makeup make more. Not only do people judge beauty based on how much makeup a woman is wearing, makeup-adorned women also rank higher in competence and trustworthiness, according to a study funded by Procter & Gamble, Massachusetts General Hospital, Harvard Medical School, Boston University, and the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. A study in the American Economic Review said women who wear makeup can earn more than 30% more in pay than non-makeup wearing workers. It says handsome people are paid handsomely. A Yale University study from Daniel Hammermesh finds employees pay a beauty premium to attractive employees. The beautiful workers earn an average of roughly 5% more, while unattractive employees can miss out on up to almost 9%, according to the study. And then here, this one says, if you're too pretty, it's a pity. Generally speaking, attractive people can make out when it comes to salary and hiring, but what about the exceedingly attractive among us? If you're an attractive man, don't sweat it because you always enjoy an advantage, according to a 2010 study that appeared in the Journal of Social Psychology. However, women rated as very attractive face discrimination when applying to masculine jobs. And so we're going to stop reading that right there. But all those things right there, I know that probably frustrates a lot of people. And you're saying, that's not right. That's not right. And I know that's not right. That is not righteous judgment, but that is the world that we live in. People judge you based on your appearance. People, they like attractive people more than unattractive people. And, and that's not right, but it's the way it is. So here's the thing. I want, my family to succeed. I want my boys to succeed. So the thing is, I'm not going to encourage them if they're doing something that I feel is going to hurt their prospects and opportunities for things. Okay, now, some people are just born ugly and there's nothing they can do about it. But, most people, there's things that you can do to improve yourself. And again, it's just, it's the right thing to do. I don't think you're more godly because you're a slob. I don't think the uglier you are proves the more godly you are. And I'm going to try to mainly keep this on guys. I do not want to talk about women when it comes to this subject, just because I'll say a ton of stuff that would probably trigger people on that. Mainly want to focus this towards guys. But you say, why do people do this? Why do people judge somebody? Why is it that, fat people make less? And I know there's always exceptions out there. This is talking on averages. But, why is that the case? And again, it's because people just naturally are going to prejudge. First impressions is a real thing. And people form opinions very quickly. It's just the way our brain works. And it's just a reality that there's certain looks that are going to get you certain treatment. We see even in the Bible where it talked about Solomon, he's observing that young man who's void of understanding, and he went by the way of a woman, and it talked about how she had the attire of an harlot. He assumed something by her clothing. And while I don't know that she was actually a harlot, her behavior definitely seemed to go along with that. And often when you see people dress a certain way, there's a particular way you expect them to act too. You might be wrong about that. But you know what? I'm not going to do this, but just go on Google and just do an image search for hipster. And you know what you do? You see long bearded dudes with flannel shirts and man buns and things like that. Search gangbanger. And you know what you're going to see? You're going to see a dude with droopy pants. He's going to be all tatted up. There's a certain look. You can look at the album cover. I've talked about this before. You can tell if it's a rap group or a country group. It's so easy to look at these things and just immediately make a judgment. And the thing is, you might be wrong, but you're probably going to be right. And so when people see, they look at you, what are you telling them by how you dress? Because not only are you telling people something, whether you want to admit it or not, but, you might be telling them something negative. And I'm just going to tell you, it's probably accurate. It's not guaranteed, but it probably is. Let's go look at another article. This one too. It's about facial hair. Okay. Now, listen, it is not a sin to have facial hair. I don't think anybody really thinks that it is. Okay. But facial hair, how you choose to do that, it says something about you, and people are going to judge you by it. It's not right, but they're going to do it. Well, let's look at this one article I thought was interesting. It says beard or no beard on the job hunt. And I get it. That shouldn't have anything to do with anything, but guess what it does? And it says about 10 years ago, men's beards grew back as if overnight. Wild and untamed lumbersexual beards and more coiffed hipster beards hit the streets, and we all thought, well, that's interesting, but it won't last. Fast forward to 2018, and while beards have stuck around, they've mostly morphed into a clean, closely groomed look that most men can easily pull off. Although the beard trend has solidly hit the mainstream, is it okay for work? This is a popular topic of discussion among those in the working world. So when our friends at popular shaving company Harry's asked us to collaborate on the topic, we decided to lather up and see what we could uncover together. As more young entrepreneurs enter the boardroom, facial hair is becoming more accepted. Keep in mind that to some extent, personal image is often seen as an extension of the company's brand. The goal is to find the right beard for your position. However, some financial or conservative business industries still don't accept beards as being professional. And if you're in sales, a beard may make you appear to be too serious and unapproachable. A study done by Live Bearded found that bearded men are perceived as 38% less generous, 36% less caring, and 51% less cheerful than their clean-shaven counterparts. Beards can also be correlated with maturity, authority, masculinity, which can be a good thing for certain jobs. Here's a pro tip from the folks at Harry's. Consider going clean-shaven for the job interview while you survey the work culture / landscape. A telltale clue your work beard will work if you spot a company leader sporting facial hair. But you may be wondering, is it legal for employers to judge someone because of their facial hair or to prohibit them from having a beard altogether? According to attorney Richard B. Cohen, in at-will work states like Texas, yes, it's mostly legal. For all intents and purposes, in at-will state, if you let your freak flag fly at work, you can be fired or not hired, Cohen says. Nothing says that an employer cannot have an appearance policy for grooming, except when the civil rights laws are implicated, Title VII, the Americans with Disabilities Act. And unless you have a reason for facial hair that can reasonably be attributed to your religion or a disability, you're likely at the mercy of your employers or potential employers' workplace appearance policies. Whatever you choose to do with your facial hair, Harry's offered us the more following grooming tips for men in the modern workplace. And so I'm not, it goes into a little more detail on a lot of that stuff, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that. But facial hair sends a message. Now, some people, they will choose to have a professional look. They want to come off as more serious, and they feel like in whatever line of work they're doing, it's their decision. That I think this will help send a message that I want to send. And it's the same thing too, because you have in trendy land, as I like to call it, people, they get so mad at Baptist churches that make a big deal about wearing suits and ties and all that kind of stuff. But, I'm just going to admit it. As a pastor, I am trying to send a message, by how I dress and how I look. I don't want to send a message that we're some contemporary, non-denominational, hipster, trendy church. I don't want people to get that idea. And so I could get up potentially, and I could preach a biblical, fire-breathing sermon, with a hipster beard, with jeans and a flannel shirt, standing behind a bistro table. I mean, how does a bistro table affect truth? I mean, it really doesn't. But I'm telling you right now, if we go for that look, if we shine the purple lights on me, if we go with that atmosphere, we're going to send a message that we're not trying to send at this church. And it does send a message. People are going to prejudge us. And we're not trying to hide what we are. We are old-fashioned in our church. There are certain things that you should expect to hear preached against in our church. We do believe in proper biblical gender roles. We do believe that the man is the head of the household and that men are to be in leadership in the church. We are against perversion. We are against sodomy and all those things. And we don't even want to appear like we're the type of church that is going to be accepting to that kind of filth. And you know what? People do. They figure these things out quick. And so some churches, they take this stuff really serious. They take the professional look really serious. And this isn't a matter of sin or it's not a sin. It's a matter of, here's some standards that we have because we're trying to send a message that, we are serious. We don't want to mislead people. And, you could potentially do that by, how you dress. Women, there's ways that they dress that can be very misleading. I mean, just because you're dressed a certain way doesn't mean you're a hooker. But there is a way that they typically dress. And I've heard stories of women who were mistaken for them, and they act so insulted, but it's like, yeah, that guy was a pig. But at the same time, too, you didn't have to be dressed that way. And I don't want people misjudging my daughters and thinking things like that about them. So, there's a certain way they're not going to dress. I don't want people looking at my daughters and having to think and pay close attention to know if they're a guy or a girl. And same thing with my boys. I don't want there to be any mistake about that. And so, there's ways that we can affect that. And, I'm not going to try to confuse people to prove a point. And so I get it. Facial hair is not a sin. But you know what? Your just nasty little stubble that you have makes you look sloppy. I'm not saying you're sinning by doing that. But, if I am an employer, at some company and I've got, these, highbrow clients and things like that, and you come in Your hair's a mess. You got all the stubble all over the place. Doesn't mean you're not good at your job, but you're sending a message to me as somebody who I'm trying to figure out if you're somebody I want to hire that you don't take things real serious. You're not taking this interview real serious. You didn't take the time to clean up. You didn't dress up. I mean, how you dress shouldn't affect your work, but yet how people dress often tells us how they're going to work. When I worked in the distribution center, we would have these young hipster types that would come in skinny jeans. Everyone knew they weren't going to last. They never one time did they last. There was one guy, everybody called him Skinny Jeans. Nobody knew his name. They just called him Skinny Jeans. And it was just like, what a joke that a guy would show up to a job like this wearing skinny jeans. Everyone was convinced he was going to fail. Okay? You say, well, that's not righteous judgment. Probably not, but guess what? Everybody got it right. He didn't last long at all. And so the thing is, I don't want my boys to, have to deal with those kind of obstacles. So you know what? We've always encouraged them to be clean cut. I will tell my boys, I would tell them growing up, don't look like a slob, comb your hair. I think you ought to have I think it's good to have a short, clean cut look in your hair. It's like, oh, how long does hair have to be before you're, violating the passage in the Bible says it's shame for a man to have long hair? Well, I don't know how long your hair can get before God's like, you look like a woman and you're a shame. I don't know what that is, but I do know that in society there's just certain standards and there's certain things that we expect to normally see from people that send a message that these are serious people, and you're playing dumb if you don't see what those things are. And like a lot of these articles and things we're saying, again, there's certain looks that do better. If you want to go find, if you're somebody who's in sales, that guy who's really successful, he's probably somebody who's taller. He's probably somebody who's in shape. He's probably somebody who's clean shaven, who's probably somebody who has a clean cut look. Does that make you a better salesman? No, but again, people, they judge. He looks honest, and so they're going to be more trusting. People do like better looking people better than they like ugly people. And so again, some of us, this is the hand that we were dealt. We can't do anything about it, but you know what? I can comb my hair. I can shave my face. And again, and I had a beard for a little while, but I tried to keep it neat. That you can have a beard and look clean cut, but you can also have a beard and you look like an absolute slob and a homeless man. And that's not good, but people do. They're constantly judging based on appearance. In fact, not that long ago, I'm going to tell everybody a story here. I'm looking at some texts of mine. No names are going to be given to protect the innocent, but I had a pastor one time. I will not tell you who this pastor is. Nobody asked me who it was. I will not tell you what state he was in, but this is a pastor that I know. He sent me a text one morning, and he said, I'm going to send you a pic of a guy. If you know him, he's like, don't tip him off. And he told me the kind of individual he thinks he is. I won't get specific on that. And he sent me a picture. Sure enough, I knew who the guy was. This guy lives in another state that he's not from Illinois, does not go to my church. He was visiting a church in another state, not in Illinois, very far from here. But this guy, as soon as he saw this pastor, because pastors are usually pretty perceptive, he saw him and he knew the kind of Baptist this guy was. And I just responded, yeah, I do know who that is. How did you know that I know him? And let's see if I can find the thing. Yeah, because I said, I'm so embarrassed that you knew I know him. How did you know? And he said, these specific type of people have a feel to them. Backpackers, half homeless looking, coming in talking about soul winning. So I showed this to the guys at our church. They thought it was so funny because that was so true. And it described this guy to a T. He saw this guy and immediately knew exactly what he was. And that isn't the first time that I have been I've had people from other states call me or contact me about someone from another state, and they just like, what is with this dude? And they knew that I would know. And so that's why I've been trying to purge my Facebook friends and stuff, because I don't know if people are tying me to them through Facebook or something. I don't, or maybe I act that way or something. But either way, you don't. And here's the funny thing too: this individual, okay, his character matches his appearance. It really does. It matches his appearance. Slobby, again, half homeless looking. And I'm telling you that you shouldn't be that way. You don't have to be that way. You don't have to look like a slob. Guys, you don't have to look like a homo. And that's how it was in our family. And I think part of the problem in our country, we have too many guys that are growing up in fatherless homes. And you know what? Boys need a man to tell them, you look like a girl. You look like a homo. You look like a fairy. You know what? This is how you're supposed to dress. And as fathers, we do that because we want our kids to succeed. So we tell them, don't go out looking like a hobo. And that's how we put it. I won't say that to other people. I'm not going to say that to, other men in the church. I'm not going to do that kind of thing, but I will say that to my boys. I'll say, you look like a hobo. Go put on some decent clothes, go take a shower, go comb your hair, and I mean, when I was growing up, if my hair would start touching my ears, my dad would be like, we need to get you a barbershop. You look like a hippie. That's not a compliment. But, at the same time, my dad wanted people to respect me. He wanted people to take me serious. And so there was a way that you address. And so, I challenge men to, take yourself more serious, and you know what? Go for a more serious look. Go for a clean cut look. And again, if you want to have a beard, go ahead and have a beard, but you know what? You don't have to look like a homeless man. It's just, I think you need to be respectful. And again, a lot of that depends on what kind of work you're wanting to go into. You don't want to, I've got to be careful not revealing all the things that I associate with things. But, everybody knows the mustache of the pedophile. All right. Where it's just, you see that mustache and you just immediately think that. Okay. That's prejudging. Okay. If some guy walks in our church and he's got a pedophile mustache, I'm not going to throw him out of the church for that. But I'm probably going to watch my kids a little closer around him. And you say, well, that's not right. I know, but at the same time, it's human nature. We all get creeped out by certain things. There's a certain vibes, and there's nothing in the Bible that says you can't have a mustache like that. I know, but there's something in society where we're like, this isn't good. This isn't normal. And, I'm not interested in being an advocate for, fixing the world and all their judgment problems. I'm not going to go and be one of these people where I cover my face with tattoos and then complain that I can't get a job. I'm sorry. People are going to judge you by your tattoos also. They're going to do that. I don't think you ought to get any tattoos, but if you're going to get tattoos, make sure you put them somewhere where you can hide them if you need to, because people aren't going to take you serious when you're doing that kind of thing. And especially if you're a woman. There was a study that came out a while back. A lot of people got mad about because it was something that said that men, they prefer marrying women without tattoos, without debt, and that are virgins. And I'm just like, yeah, I think that's the preference of most men. And here's what bothered them so much. It's like, because you're just assuming negative things because they have a tattoo, because they have debt, because they're not a virgin. And you know what? It's possible that, something was done to the woman, but again, most of the time we're probably right. Still not right to prejudge, but people are going to do it. So don't go doing things to yourself that's going to negatively affect you. As a parent, I take these things very serious with my family. I want to, as a father, I want to send my kids out in a way where they'll succeed. In Psalms 127, this is a well-known verse, it says, "Lo, children are a heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are the children of thy youth. Happy is the man that hath his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate." And I like how he compares children to arrows, okay? And obviously, if you're going to go into battle, it's good if you got a bunch of family that are standing there with you. They're like arrows, okay? If I go up against a guy who's got a bow and no arrows, then, he's not really going to threaten me with that bow. But also, you know what? Back in the day when they were making their own arrows, they wanted arrows that were going to fly straight. They wanted arrows that were going to successfully hit the target that they were aiming at. And I've got a target that I want my kids to hit. For one, I want my guys to get it, my boys to find a decent wife. I want my girls to find a decent husband. And if they just don't give a rip about their appearance, it's like, do you want your boys to marry good-looking girls? Do you want your girls to marry good-looking guys? Yes, I prefer cute grandkids rather than ugly ones. And so the thing is, I get it. Sometimes genetics, people can't help, but most of the time it's just a character thing. A lot of times too, families where everyone's, morbidly obese and stuff, you'll find out too, even in a case where the kids aren't biological, it's the same thing. Why is that? Because it's not always about genetics. Sometimes it's about a lifestyle. And so, there's a lot of things when it comes to the appearance that it tells people things, and some of it might not be true. And so we need to use righteous judgment, but a lot of it may in fact be true. And our world is just not always going to treat you fair. And so I've always pushed my boys to have a certain look because I want them to be treated a certain way by society. I want my boys to have a clean cut look. You know what? Because I don't want cops discriminating against them. And let me tell you, it's true. Cops do discriminate sometimes, that they just automatically assume the worst. And, we've seen, the videos, sometimes they're too quick to pull out their gun and start shooting people. And you know what? There is a look, not just a skin color, but there is a look that if you have, especially as a young person, you are more likely to get treated with respect. I do think you're probably more likely to get shot by a cop if you're all tatted up, pierced up, saggy britches. I think you're way more likely to get shot and whenever you get pulled over than if you are clean cut. Short hair, no tattoos, just clean cut look. I think you're safer. You say that's not right. I know it's not righteous judgment, but you know what? I don't want to prove a point to the world by looking like a slob and then getting shot. I'd prefer not to get shot. When we go out soul winning in some of these ghettos, I want to look like a soul winner. I don't want to look like a rival gang member because, typically I think soul winners are pretty safe out there. And so I'm not afraid to make it obvious what I am and why I am out there. And there's a look that says that person's given the gospel, and there's another look that says that person's dealing drugs. Now, can you give the gospel in saggy britches, a ball cap without the rim curved, can you give the gospel blinged out in gold? Of course you can. Absolutely you can. But when you see that person, you're not thinking soul winner. You're thinking rival gang member, and you might get shot in a drive-by. And I don't want to get shot because somebody thinks I'm a rival gang member, because I'm not. So, like I said, just because it's wrong to judge people, about how they look, it doesn't mean we shouldn't take these things into consideration. We don't want to send the wrong message. And just because it isn't right to judge someone based on appearance, it doesn't mean people's judgment is always wrong. Again, a lot of times these people are absolutely right. I'm going to show you one more thing, because I was reading a bunch of different articles about, what you wear, how you do your hair, your facial hair, and the messages that it sends. And, I was amazed at how accurate this stuff was. But here's one about colors. Okay, now this is interesting with colors because says what to wear are color guides. So these colors typically say something about you. Now, most of the time I wear blue. I almost always have some kind of blue on, and I notice it means loyalty, stability, tranquility. And you know what? I like to think that I am those things. I think I am those things. I'm wearing kind of maroon now, so I don't know if that's passion, aggression, or intense, or if it's this one down here, the stability, neutral, reliability. I don't usually wear red. I do wear like maroon or burgundy a lot. I don't see that on here. But black, power, mystery, professional, yellow, happiness, optimism, youth. So I don't know. I don't know how true all that stuff is. But again, you'd be surprised how often these things are right. And here's the other thing too. You can tell when somebody is trying to force a message like that. Okay. We've all seen the guy who decides that he's going to dress up for something and look professional at a job interview. And he goes and he gets that shirt and tie that doesn't fit right. The tie is like, only comes like right there because it's not tied right. He's like, combed his hair, but I don't know how to, I probably should have got some pictures to describe these people, but y'all know it when you see it, where it's like, this guy has never been dressed like this in his life. It's like you can tell he went and shaved, but he didn't do a very good job. He's got, little patches everywhere. And it just, you say, you shouldn't make fun of people like that. And it's absolutely correct. We shouldn't. But people are going to. If you dress like a slob, you're going to be negatively judged. If you don't do your hair, if you don't take care of your facial hair, if you don't do those things, you're going to be negatively judged. And you know what? There's no reason why we can't just look decent. I think it's polite. I think it's good. I want to be a good representative of Liberty Baptist Church. And so I don't want to go out in public all the time looking like a hobo, especially when I'm doing something, on behalf of the church. And it's not a sin to wear crummy clothes. So when you're out doing yard work, digging ditches or something like that, there's a way you're going to dress for that. But, I'm not going to dress that way when I go out on visitation, when I go out soul winning. I'm not going to do that. When I get up to preach, the message is the most important thing. But, I'm also sending a message if I go up to the pulpit in my pajamas. I mean, think about that. You say, oh, that's so legalistic. I'm sorry. If I go up there in my pajamas, people aren't going to take me serious. When you go to court, I dare you, anti-legalist, hipster trendy types that go when you have to go to court for something, show up in your PJs and flip-flops. I dare you to do that. Oh, it doesn't matter. No, you're going to send a message, and you know what? The court's not going to appreciate it. The jury isn't going to like it. And you know what? Nobody does that. Whenever people go to court, I mean, we've all seen these things too, where I better be careful with that. But where certain people, I've seen a lot of examples in things that have come up in the news, and when things went to court, there is no doubt that person went and got a makeover. That person, before they got interviewed by CNN, showed up at the studio, they clearly went and got a makeover. A lot of times a professional one, especially if they're promoting some kind of cause. Because it's like, we know where they're from. We know what their background is. That is not their normal look. So, why do they do that? Why is it that when a gangbanger from the hood get shot, that all of a sudden, when their family members are showing up for these news interviews and things, they're wearing expensive clothes. I mean, they clearly have professional makeovers. You know why? Somebody paid for them to do it because they want them pushing their anti-gun agenda or their anti-cop agenda, and no one's going to listen to them if they look like trashy people. So they do. They change their look. When their mom's in court, she's, watching her son get tried or whatever, she's had a makeover. And they do that because these things do affect how people look at things. And so you can not like that, and you don't have to like it. It's not right, but it is reality. And I am not going to waste my life going on a campaign to get everyone to stop judging people's appearance and then just go and dress like a hobo all the time to help hobos not get discriminated against. I'm not going to devote my life to dressing like a gangster, to send a message that cops shouldn't be shooting people that look like gangsters. I don't think I ought to be shooting people that look like gangsters. But in the meantime, I don't want to get shot for that. That is a cause I do not want to die for. So in the meantime, I would like to succeed. I would like my boys to succeed. I would like for people to take them serious. If they go to get a job, anything you can do to get them to actually take a look at you, this is what you need to do. And it's the same thing when we go out soul winning. We want people to take us serious. We want people to give us a chance. And if we show up at their house looking like we're about to rob the place, they're probably going to close the door as fast as they can. And so some people, they actually might be turned away when they see us dressed up. Sometimes when I go out on Sundays, I'm typically wearing a tie because that's what I'm wearing that day. I mean, I look a lot like a soul winner on Sundays, and that probably makes some people shut the door on me because they think I'm a Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon or something like that, or just because I'm a church guy. But then, on Saturdays when I go out, typically I wear a collared shirt, dress pants, and I don't wear a tie. And I choose to do that because I think it makes them more likely to answer the door and pay attention to me. But you know what I don't do? I don't go out looking like a hobo. I don't think that would help either. And so, either way you spin it, you are going to be judged by these things. And so, dads, set your kids up for success. Don't let them be slobs. Don't let them be lazy. If they get a Zoomer perm, people are going to assume they're lazy Gen Zers that have an entitlement mentality. Have them get a short haircut, keep it combed, keep them looking nice, and hey, let me just say this to you younger guys too. Okay. I get being young and anxious to grow a beard. Everyone's disgusted by fuzz beards. Okay. Please do not grow a beard until you're capable of growing a real man beard. You just look disgusting otherwise. And you know what? Some people are not capable of growing a good beard that, people, that's respectable looking. I said I had one for a couple of years. My goal when I grew a beard is I wanted to be able to grow the kind. I like people when they have the ones that it's really short, but like really thick you can see no skin. I was kind of hoping I'd be able to grow one like that. No, when it comes to hair stuff, I'm very challenged in that area. And I finally got sick of mine. And now I look back at those pictures like, dude, that was disgusting. But I don't want to get it back. But either way, hopefully this was a help. Hopefully I wasn't too offensive. Wasn't trying to be offensive. But there are some things we can help. You can work out. You can get in shape. People respect you more. Now some of you, you're at a point in your life. You've got a good job. You're skilled in an area where those things don't matter. Okay, you don't have to worry about it as much. But when you're younger and just getting started, I want my boys to have an opportunity to go into whatever they want. So it will help, you're always going to be better off and have more opportunities, not being a slob, being in shape. You'll have every advantage. Any of us could get out of shape real easy. It's hard to get in shape. Any of us can grow our hair out and, just not take care of ourselves, and anybody can do that. These other things, they take some effort, and I think it's worth it. So anyway, your appearance. What are you saying with your appearance? Are you telling people you're a lazy slob that doesn't give a rip? Or are you telling people you're a serious person? You're somebody who's dependable, somebody who's thorough, somebody you can count on? Because you're telling somebody something. And most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, what you're saying with your appearance is right. And as Christians, we don't want to judge people according to the appearance. We want to judge righteous judgment. But our world is not judging righteously, so I don't want to send a bad message. And so hopefully this was a help. Thank you all for watching. We will see you all next week.